Okay, let's talk. The 60s was a bad decade for assassinations. Tell me about Martin Luther King and
Who?
Martin Luther King
Mm.
and Kennedy. They were both assassinated in 68.
Mm-hmm. I think we were in Long Island when both of them were done. I know we were when King was shot, working at Grumman there.
Was that a good thing that we were in New York and not in Alabama when that happened?
I don't know.
I don't think
We had a couple of young black engineers up there with us from Alabama, and they really cut up a storm in the bullpen that we were working in.
What do you mean cut up a storm?
And they were kind of upset.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I don't know. I doubt if anything, if anything would have been worse in Alabama than New York. Because Alabama's not what a lot of people think it is.
The thing about that was in the South, the blacks and whites got along better in the South than they did in the North, and yet they blamed everything on the South. But I saw that one being raised in New York, where blacks and whites were against each other. But I was surprised when we moved to Alabama how blacks and whites got along better. So that's just a myth.
That's my memory too, because growing up in Alabama, I had no problems with blacks.
You didn't.
Part of the school and everything. And when we went to Long Island, that's where I had all the trouble because I was from Alabama.
Right. Yeah, it's really, and the myth carries on to today. That's what's so upsetting. The South gets along better with the blacks up in the South than they do up north, and yet in the South you're blamed for everything. But I didn't.
Everything about the South up north is.
Yeah.
We went up on vacation and they had just opened. Remember the big penny store they had in Huntsville? Which mall was it in?
That open mall? Or was it a...
I don't know.
I remember Pizitz, that's what I remember.
No, it wasn't in that mall. It was one further up on the Parkway. But they had just opened a big new penny store in Huntsville. And we went to Newburgh on vacation, and they opened that little strip mall, like they call it the Mid-Valley Mall. It had a Schoonmaker store that went bust after a few months in the mall, and it had a penny store. The Pennies and Schoonmaker were the anchor stores. And I went we went into Pennies to buy something, and I wrote a check, and the clerk wanted to see my ID, and I showed him my Alabama driver's license. He says, "Oh, you're from Alabama." He says, "Do you have a nice big penny store like this in Alabama?" I said, "We got one about 3 times as big as this."
That's just like the steak people coming out to our branch.
Yeah.
Were you there the Sunday the lady asked us if we had internet and if we knew what YouTube was?
Yeah.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah.
Do you have internet out here?
When John was a baby, when he was born, he's only 6 weeks old when we left, I think. But the doctor gave us a prescription for Trivisol, and I was reading it as I was going into the pharmacy. Trivisol with fluoride. And I handed it to the pharmacist, and I said, I want this without the fluoride. He says, "Well, you got to have it because they don't put it in our water here." I says, "Well, we're going back to Alabama, and they do put it in our water." He says, "They put fluoride in the water in Alabama?" I said, "Yeah, some of the people down there wear shoes now."
It is so funny. Hold on just a minute.